How's it going, guys? Welcome back to episode 3 of the Noobs podcast. Our guest today is going to be the king of Solana NFTs himself, Knox. Introduce yourself, man.
Hey, so my name is Knox. I am known on Twitter as Knox Trades, and I have been in Solana since the early days of Solana. I've become known for being involved in the NFT space, though. I'm pretty active in all aspects of Solana, whether that's DeFi development or whatever. So really stoked to be here. Been following Chuck for a long time, since before we worked together. And it's really cool to get together and hang out.
Yeah, we are stoked to have you on today, Knox, because, first of all, you're not just, a Solana guy. That's what you've been like. That's your passion project, and I've been following your other Twitter account. Your main one, your Data Knox thing, is all about IT, which is where we kind of started our journey together. Me and Knox both worked at CBT Nuggets. You still work there, I believe, right?
Kind of. It's tricky. So the blockchain and crypto stuff can't actually fall under CBT Nuggets' arm because of their investors and everything. So the owner of the company has effectively a separate training company dedicated to just crypto and blockchain, and that's where my new content is actually going.
Interesting. So you're actually going to be making some blockchain content, teaching people how to do some blockchain stuff, and I guess just general education on what the junk is the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's actually like my first block of content is like why you should care about Web3 and how we're like at the precipice of this entirely new revolution with what Web3 is and how it's about to change the world. What we say in crypto a lot is that we are so early, and this kind of reinforces that concept as to how early we are. And then it kind of like eases people into developing on Solana. And not just like creating what they call programs, what other blockchains call smart contracts, but really just how do you interact with the blockchain from the front end, just to do some basic tasks. And we end up going all the way, to the very end of doing like the really, really hard stuff too.
So I guess for those who aren't aware, what is the big push from Web 2 to Web 3?
Actually, real quick, let me give a quick outline for what I want to talk about, and you can interject here. So first, we're definitely going to dig into like, okay, what the junk are NFTs?
Yeah.
Why is this Web3 thing so big?
Yeah.
Why is it such a
polarizing?
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. A polarizing thing. You talk about NFTs, half the audience
Yeah.
hates you. They burn you. Like they're like, unsubscribe, hate you now. The other half's like, all right, I want to see more of that. And so we'll get into all that. And also, I want to get into your origin story a little bit. Like, how did you get in? Like, I know you're part of your story. I want to get into that because like you have a fascinating IT story as well as why that drove you into NFTs. Not that might be the reason, but I think it probably is. Like you have a financial background, I believe, and I imagine that really leads into like a finance and tech. That's the perfect marriage, right?
That's pretty much it. My background is I got my degree in econ in 2008, which was the worst possible time to get an econ degree because it was in the middle of the Great Recession. But I knew a lot about, and I interned at Merrill Lynch before they imploded and let everybody go. I interned at Financial Planning Association, so I learned a lot about financial products. I even was a commercial insurance agent for 5 years, so I sold like workers' comp and stuff like that. But I learned a lot about like advanced financial products, like options, derivatives, and foreign exchange.
So you know all the stuff that I tear my hair out trying to understand when I get into like the crypto tech. I can wrap my head around that. But it's when you bring in traditional finance with that, I'm like, oh crap! I gotta go research this now. I gotta go learn it.
And that's why DeFi was so fascinating to me. It kind of was like, instead of putting your money in banks, just be the bank. And instead of paying E-Trade to do contract stuff for you, just write your own. And it's just as simple as a couple clicks, and that's what really attracted me into crypto and blockchain and this recent wave of Web3 and DeFi.
So real quick for our audience, I know I'm asking you to like explain something very, very complex that you have, by the way, videos on your channel explaining Web3, NFTs, and just in depth, and you do a lot of stuff. But like real quick, if you had to explain it to my grandma, what's an NFT? What would you say?
So the real answer to that is actually to start off with what is Web3 and why is it such a big deal.
And I will see, like, on Twitter, I will see so many people go, Web3 is just stupid. It doesn't mean anything. It's all this and that. And I'm like, I'm a believer in it. And
well, I mean, all it takes is using it for like 10 minutes, and then you realize, oh, this is better. So I mean, with web, it's the evolution of the web. With Web 1, we connected people to information. This is when people created their own websites, and they typed up information on a website. So now people could go online and get information. That was the first iteration of the web, Web 1.0. With Web 2.0, we ushered in social media, which was connecting people to other people. And the dissemination of information happened much, much, much quicker now because of things like, well, it was thefacebook.com in 2004. Then it became Facebook and then Twitter and then Instagram. And now TikTok is kind of this big thing that, we're all using to share information, whatever that information may be. What the barrier, though, is that now that people are together, how can we interact in such a way that could also free up what we say is the mobility of capital, or basically a way where I could have a transaction between me and this person that I'm already interacting with without having to go through some sort of intermediary, without having to do a foreign exchange. So maybe I have found someone in Australia that I want to do some sort of transaction with because we're very easy to connect people together now. Where Web3 comes in is now with blockchain, and not so much cryptocurrency, but with blockchain, we now have the ability to transact instantaneously with anyone around the world with a shared currency. And the way that this has kind of evolved in a very short amount of time is now with websites, instead of typing in your username and password, you literally just connect your crypto wallet. You just click a button. And that identifies you even anonymously on the internet. And it also hooks you into the blockchain. So whenever you're ready to buy something, you just click buy. And that transaction happens between two direct parties instead of going through all of these intermediaries. So basically why Web3 is a humongous revolution is it is tearing down all of these financial walls that separated us, all of these borders. It becomes borderless transactions is the best way to put it. And that is, throwing in all of these additional products like NFTs and like DeFi, the ability to do all of these things instantly around the world with one shared currency. It's just, there's a reason why these blockchains are now worth billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, and Metaverse is becoming a, what did they say? It was an $800 billion industry in the next 3 years.
Yeah, and we should definitely get more into that. 'Cause I know first of all, guys, just give you background on Knox. Like, this guy is an IT god. He studies and gets certifications faster than I can possibly imagine. Also creating content faster than I can even blink. For every one video I make, you make about 40, and that's not, like, I'm probably not exaggerating on that. But also, you have an extensive NFT collection, like an embarrassingly amazing NFT collection. Like, I'll look at your, what is it? You have it in Solstead.
Solstead.
I'll get Solstead, and like, oh my gosh, there's some Solana 8 or was it DGen Ape Academy?
Five DGen Apes. Do you have one of the shadowy super coders?
I have a few of those.
I remember you investing in those, yeah.
And I just spun up a shadow node a couple weeks ago. So I'm in the alpha program. I'm running a server that is running in the Shadow RPC environment.
Okay, we're gonna definitely get into
it's
the
awesome.
projects that you're excited about, and then we'll dive into like kind of the tech behind that.
And then maybe like behind the scenes, you and I will talk more about that because I bet that's something you're gonna want to do.
Definitely sounds like that, and we'll let the audience decide if they want to see content on that because I know again it's very polarizing, but at the same time, it's polarizing because let's dive into that. So NFTs.
Yeah.
The reason they're so polarizing is because I think the bad press on it and a lot of the bad actors who have been promoting just the JPEG stuff. So first of all, what's an NFT? And I guess maybe dive into what's an NFT to you.
So the NFT is the hardest thing in the universe to describe because it's not so much about what it is; it's about how you use it. And there is a lot of negative press out there about NFTs, and a lot of it is deserved because there are people out there which is true with anything, especially in crypto, but there are people out there who are advertising, I'm launching this entirely new humongous project. It's going to be funded. We're doing our initial seed round, basically crowdfunding, but we're doing it by selling NFTs. They collect all the money and then they disappear.
Yeah,
Total scams.
They call it the rug pull, right?
The rug pull. And you say I got rugged. And that's just, but that has been, that's been part of business since the beginning of time. And that's been a part of blockchain since really the ICO days in 2017. So that's not new. But I can't understand why people get so upset about seeing a JPEG as a picture, because the evolution of NFTs is so fascinating. It was originally an idea where an artist makes digital artwork, and it was challenging for a digital artist to make money because of what you hear, right-click, save as. Mm-hmm. So they could upload it and say, like, you can buy my JPEG for $100, but you, the person there, could right-click and save it as, and you're like, why do I need to buy it? Well, the thing about artwork is that when you buy a physical piece of artwork, like you can prove that you're the physical owner of that artwork because it's the only one that exists. It's like buying a Picasso, right? Mm-hmm. Well, with digital artwork, that hasn't been a thing until the blockchain came along. So now the verified creator, the verified artist, they've gone through some process to verify that they are the artist. They can create a token, basically a coin of their own on the blockchain that points to their artwork. It says that this is the only token that represents the ownership of that artwork. So now when you buy that token, you are the verified owner of that piece of artwork. And that's where it got...
Well, Rich, right there, I think it brings up one of the biggest things people have with this. The big hang-up is that, yes, the token points to the artwork, but that artwork is not on the blockchain. Yeah.
No, that artwork is typically on just a file hosting service like AWS S3, or more popularly in crypto, something called Arweave.
Right, and it's just metadata, right? It's a URL that can be manipulated and changed.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's it. It's literally a JSON file that has, and one of the attributes, especially in Solana, is link, and it points to the PNG file. So, and that's it. But when you own that token, you own all of the intellectual property of that JPEG file. So that's why it starts to get interesting. Then comes along something called generative collections, which is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And this is what you're actually seeing when you see people who have the avatar on Twitter with it's an animal usually. So what the way this is really cool that works is an artist draws a base layer, just an outline of a body, and then they add hundreds of different little attributes to it. So maybe 17 different kinds of glasses or 17 different kinds of hats. And then they export every single attribute individually and then run it through a program, and it literally just randomly grabs these attributes and puts together a collection. So after it's all said and done, they can have 10,000 images because of all the possible combinations of attributes they have. And that's what they do. They go sell these 10,000 attributes. What ended up happening is people ended up buying these collections of artwork, or individuals would come along and buy one of these 10,000, and it sort of formed cliques. It formed social groups and social gatherings, and these became really, really, really popular. So like-minded people would get together and say, okay, I think we're all going to go buy these apes or these monkeys or these giraffes or whatever, and that's how we'll represent our group to come together. And that became a very, very popular thing with the Bored Ape Yacht Club. So CryptoPunks was the first one to do it with those 8-bit pixelated faces, but Bored Apes mastered it. And that's why the Bored Ape floor, the cheapest you can get one today, is around $250,000.
Goodness gracious. And I have to admit, that whole concept of the generative, I can never say that right, art, where it just randomly computer-generated attributes thrown out there, and then the communities behind that was confusing to me. Yeah. So when I found yours, I follow you on Data Knox, your main Twitter handle, and then I saw what's your NFT
Knox
handle?
Trades.
Knox Trades. I saw that come up and I'm like, wait, is Knox into NFTs? Let me go follow him. And I saw you interacting with all these communities, and I'm like, what is this? This is the most weird, confusing. So I spent 2 weeks just researching the landscape of this, and what you're explaining now makes total sense to me now. But back then I was like, why are these people doing this? Like, why are they getting so excited? What's all this language? All the terms, like the GM, like GM everyone. What? What does that mean?
It is definitely a subculture of Twitter that's become a very, very popular thing, especially in Solana. But yeah, so I mean, I think the part that gets people's endorphins going about it is the whole rarity aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So when they generate all this art, it's actually just an open source program called Hashlips, and it's very easy to use. But when you Hashlips, like
I love the name.
Face, yeah, so it's really easy to use. I recorded some content on it, and honestly, like, you could go from just having raw art to a full-blown NFT collection in probably a half an hour because Solana tooling has gotten so good. But with Hashlips, you can go in and say, like, oh, you know what? I really like this hat, so I want this hat to be more valuable than the others, like when it goes to the market. So you can actually add a rarity aspect to it and say, like, you know, for every 100 that get generated, I only want to generate 1 with this attribute. So when people come to buy their artwork, they actually don't know which one they're getting, and they're kind of rolling the dice. It's kind of like opening Pokemon cards and hoping that you get, you know, the holographic rare. So when they buy their NFT, it gets dropped in their wallet, and they finally get to see which one they bought, which one got generated for them. And so there's this big endorphin rush that people go through by buying NFTs. But instead of a $5 Pokemon card, it's usually like a $300 mint. So it's a very rich lotto ticket. But yeah, so I mean people get like a real kick out of trying to buy a rare NFT, get it generated and drop.
Yeah, when me and Cameron had one of those moments.
We did that with what was it, the neighborhood?
Oh, Soul Neighborhood.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in on the, I think not the pre-mint, but like the main public mint.
We were in the last mint.
Oh, the last mint.
The final mint.
And like the excitement of that was so fun. Like we get in there, we're like, okay, we gotta be quick. We ready? The countdown's be like 3, 2, 1. We're like, buy.
And sold out in like less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, sold out in less than 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, we did it, Cameron. We're rich now. Yeah. And of course, you know, the recent dip, which we can talk about, and what you think the future is. But that mentality, I totally get. I'm addicted.
I was giddy. I felt like I was pulling slots on a slot machine.
Yep. I feel like I won the scratch off. Yeah, I was.
Yep.
But that's interesting about the thing you're saying about Hashlips. I'm assuming they use that same data they put into that to have the rarity. They throw those things over to, what is it, like Moon Rank, in order to like have them all like ranked at the certain rarity.
So that's actually easy to figure out too. What Hashlips does is for every file, like for every image that it generates, a PNG file, it also generates an associated JSON file that has the actual attributes in it. And in fact, that's a requirement for Solana. So what happens with Moonrank in places like that, once this JPEG has actually been put on the blockchain, the associated JSON files also put on the blockchain. So all Moonrank has to do is go find the address that made all these JPEGs, and it can parse through every bit of JSON and just count. Okay, there were only 100 of these generated, and there were 10,000 of these generated. So it can easily figure out just by reading the blockchain which ones are most rare or not.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've written like a generic script to where all they have to do is just plug in a new creator address, and it just spits out the ranking in like a few minutes. So I think that the cool thing about NFTs was how much they evolved from just being a social club. Even though the Bored Apes did master it, and they had an actual yacht party in December, like in New York. They had they had little baby play. They had like Jimmy Fallon has an ape. He was there. Like it was crazy. But like it's evolved beyond that a lot to where now the big thing is rewarding people who actually have the NFT. So we talked about Genesis Go in a little bit and the Shadow Drive, the shadowy supercoders and what they do. And it's just really fascinating how NFTs are changing and how they're being used. Like when we think about Solana as a blockchain is really just a gigantic computer. It's got a CPU, it's got RAM, and it's got storage. So the CPU and the RAM are what makes Solana go fast. It what makes it like process transactions very quickly. So they were, when they first built Solana, they were really quick to like get it out to the public, and they're like, we'll deal with storage later. So the actual storage of the blockchain itself, the ledger of every single transaction that's ever happened, is just stored in Google Bigtable right now.
Really?
So yeah. So it's like 60 terabytes or something. It's something big.
Wow.
But it's all in Google. So with the exception of like the last 2,000 transactions that have happened, those recent transactions are stored on the validator servers in RAM. But anything back beyond that is dumped into Google. So if you want to go find transactions that happened months ago, you got to go to Google to get it. So what Genesis Go is doing is they're creating a protocol that moves that storage out of Google and back onto these validator nodes so that you can get the history of transactions and the current state of accounts insanely quickly.
So Genesis Go, so they're separate from the actual Solana team, but they're building an add-on to Solana to make it better.
They're building the hard drive.
And
they're building
isn't Solana already pretty fast? Why are they trying to make it faster?
Yeah, I mean, like, and actually, before I want to go deep into the Solana NFTs, but real quick, I think the other hang-up people have is they think there's only Ethereum-based NFTs and all the problems that come with that, with the slowness, the gas fees, and all that. So, real quick, why did you? I probably already answered the question, but why did you look at Solana versus Ethereum?
So
how did
into
Solana come on
Solana.
your radar?
Yeah, how did it come on your radar? Because like I found it because of you, and I never would have found it otherwise.
I got into Solana because I was big into DeFi, and that was just a way to make significantly better yields off of your money than traditional finance like a savings account. Even my USDC stable coins right now, they're yielding about 25% in stable coins and DeFi, as opposed to what is the savings account paying today? Like 0.15%?
Yeah, less than 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, there's just no point in my opinion, not financial advice. Do not do this if I'm saying it. But there's no point in holding cash. Like if I'm gonna hold something that's equivalent to a US dollar, I might as well just put it in Solana DeFi and make 25%.
What's your favorite stablecoin?
USDC.
USDC? Okay.
Yeah,
What's your reason for that?
Well, I mean, not Tether, because Tether's just had so much shadiness behind them.
Ton, yeah.
But USDC has just kind of become the de facto standard now in the world. And UST on Tether is also a very good stablecoin.
And for those who don't know, can you kind of give a little rundown of what a stablecoin is and why it's so important?
Yeah, it's a crypto equivalent to one United States dollar. So in the world, in traditional finance, whenever you're dealing with foreign exchange, like the Japanese yen or the British pound or the euro, you denote the value of that foreign exchange, that currency, relative to the United States dollar. So the exact same mechanism needed to exist in cryptocurrencies, but there was no way to put Bitcoin against a US dollar and make it match up perfectly, because the time it takes to convert a cryptocurrency into a fiat US dollar takes too much time, and cryptocurrency moves very, very quickly. You need to have for foreign exchange, it needs to be like sub-millisecond charts. That's the best way to put it, or else arbitrage is too strong. So they created a United States version of a cryptocurrency. Tether was the first one with USDT. And now professional currency traders can now trade on the blockchain or on exchanges from Bitcoin to USDT or from Ethereum to USDT in sub-millisecond times. So that's why stablecoins were created, was so that it could normalize trading cryptocurrencies as if they were the exact same thing as trading foreign exchange.
And these are also all like they're backed, like they have the equivalent cash stashed away to equal each.
Oh yeah. They claim to be backed, but that has yet to really be proven because nobody's really audits these things.
Right, because like there's no regulations in place just yet for that, right?
Exactly, and that's why I think the Biden administration wants to put stablecoin. They have an executive order coming to regulate stablecoins, but it's also why central banks like China and the United States are interested in issuing their own. So
I can see that being a huge thing.
Yeah.
It would actually think that would be like, there isn't such a thing as wanting regulation in cryptocurrency as so long as it doesn't overreach, because then it normalizes the rules and we don't play with uncertainty anymore. And if the United States were to say like, okay, well, we have $1 trillion United States dollars in fiat, let's just take 500 billion of it back it into a cryptocurrency. Well, guess what? Now we have a United States dollars cryptocurrency that's backed by the United States government, and everybody trusts that. So I think that's a good thing, but that gets into the weeds of economics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's above my pay grade on that one. Now,
So
real quick, USDC, that's based on Ethereum, right?
So USDC is on every blockchain.
Oh, really? Okay. So they have a flavor, I guess if you want to call it that, on each blockchain.
So that gets into tokens. Like all Solana and all Ethereum is just, you could think of it as a river. It's just a transport. That's all it is. And where smart contracts come in, and programs for that matter, is you can create your own token directly on top of it. And it just uses Ethereum or uses Solana to transport it back and forth. So that's what USDC is. USDC is nothing more than a token that just sits on top of Ethereum or on top of Solana.
So how do they bridge between Solana and Ethereum and all that?
Yep, that's called wrapping. So what they do there is
we're going so deep in the weeds. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this
it's great though. This is great.
But this is what's given Solana the majority of its value, is that there is a massive exodus of USDC off of Ethereum onto Solana, like to the tune of like $20 billion or something at this point.
Oh wow!
And
so $20 billion worth of USDC Ethereum moving to wrapped USDC and Solana.
So that's exactly it. So in Ethereum, that token is called ERC20. Mm-hmm. So whenever, that's just the standard that they created. So if you create a new token on Ethereum, they call it an ERC20 token. On Solana, they call it SPL, or Solana Program Library. So all they're doing when they move USDC off of Ethereum onto Solana is they literally take that ERC20 token and just wrap SPL around it. That's it.
Interesting.
I can't tell you how many times I've tried to, and this is before I was wise enough to know what's going on, but like I tried to transact on Solana and I would buy some like USDC, but as Ethereum based, I'm like, oh, dang it. Now I have to transfer it to wrapped it. Like just getting that concept of wrapped was so confusing.
And now they've got something called Wormhole out there that does it in like 2 clicks. Okay. It's so incredible. You connect your MetaMask wallet and your Phantom wallet, and you just say source, destination, amount, done, and it just does it.
What are the fees on that?
Whatever gas is, because Ethereum has gas.
Oh, so the Ethereum gas.
So expensive.
Let's talk about that. So let's talk about how gassy Ethereum is.
Yeah.
And why you went with Solana.
Yeah, so Ethereum, the way Ethereum works is it's still built on miners who actually are mining the actual blockchain. I have 6 miners sitting downstairs in my house. I'm a big fan of mining. But as Ethereum became more and more and more popular, because it was the first to do these things with tokens, the way it actually works is when you want to do something on Ethereum, you have to bid for a miner's attention. So when you have now, you back in the day when we only had, make up a number, 20 people using Ethereum, miners were desperate for attention. So they made their prices really, really cheap. Well, now we have 20 million people who use Ethereum at any given second. They all click buy at the same time. And what ends up happening is like, well, I want you to process my transaction first before his, because I want to buy this token before they do. So they bid up the price of miners that way to where now we're at a point where to do most things on Ethereum, it's going to cost you no less than $50, but probably not more. I say that. I mean, I've paid $2,000 in gas one time for an NFT mint, and I didn't get it, and the transaction failed.
Wait, so $2,000 is gone?
Gone, because you paid the miner, and then the miner went to go actually do the mining, and it was like, sorry, that token was already sold.
Dude, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a real thing that, like, when there's significant congestion on Ethereum, which is pretty much the norm now, an average NFT transaction on Ethereum costs about $250. Like, if I were to go do anything on Ethereum right now with an NFT, I would probably want to make sure I budget $150 to $300 for gas.
And that's so dumb. Like, I remember when I went to go buy my first NFT, I'm like, okay, obviously I'm going to do it on Ethereum. That's the biggest one right now. I'm like, I'm going to start small, buy like a $50 NFT. Couldn't do that. I had to budget the gas in. I'm like, wait, I'm about to pay the same amount of gas as what the NFT is worth. That's stupid.
Yep.
And then for those out there, like, what's the typical gas fee of a Solana transaction?
Less than a penny. There is no gas on Solana effectively because there's no miners. It's an entirely different algorithm called proof of stake. Instead of using miners, they use servers.
Hey,
and
get it correct. It's proof of times or proof of history, sir.
Yeah, proof of history. Right. Which is like a proof of thing. So but you're right. It is. It's its own little algorithm that makes it very, very quickly. And the idea there is that instead of paying miners to guess your block and add it onto the blockchain, instead you're paying a group of servers that all have to agree on the same thing. That whatever you're trying to do, if you're trying to send money from person A to person B, they're going to make sure that person A has the money that they want to send and person B is ready to receive it. And if all 32 servers agree on this, then the transaction is processed. The cool thing about it is it's very, 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 very fast to do that too. So Ethereum, which would have cost you $150 to $300, also would have taken several minutes to process your transaction. Solana has about a 4-second confirmation, and it costs less than a penny.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen my Solana NFT video, or not NFT, but Solana cryptocurrency video, I created a cryptocurrency token for my daughters, and they're called Keeks, Keith Coin, and that's how I give them their allowance, or yeah, pretty much. So it's so quick. They have their wallets on their phones, and they just send it to me if they want to pay for things, and it's like that. It's amazing,
Yep.
and the gas fees makes sense. Less
Yep.
than a penny. Doesn't cost me anything. It's awesome.
Yep, that's exactly it. But your original question was, why do we, since Solana's already fast, why do we care about making it faster? And the thing is, Solana's already fast with an exception or two. Whenever we actually have to go find the historical state of all of these accounts and all of the times this NFT has traded hands and everything, then it can get a little bit slower. And beyond that, the way the data itself, and this is getting really, really wonky, but the way the data is structured makes it really, really hard to work with it. So what Genesis Go is trying to do is speed up that process significantly with also creating standards that's going to make it really, really easy for developers to develop on. And at the end of the day, what's going to end up happening is that Solana, especially as it grows, because it's only a year and a half old,
It's crazy, by the way.
it will be able to scale even bigger. Meaning once we have, instead of 100 million people using it, when we have 5 billion people using it, it's not going to run into congestion issues like other blockchains do, because the entire history of the ledger is stored on very, very fast servers.
So real quick, I want to take a little fun detour.
Yeah.
Solana is relatively new,
Yep.
and its price skyrocketed last year.
11,000%.
Which is insane. How early were you?
I bought mine at $17.
Okay.
Then, your other question was, how did I get into NFTs? Because I was there in DeFi. So I got into NFTs because I was there at the origin of NFTs. So Solana NFTs launched really in August, and I was there. And I already knew about NFTs through Ethereum, but I liked Solana. And now they're getting NFTs, so I'm going to buy some NFTs. And that's how I got into it. And then I just started to mesh with these communities a lot more and talk to them more about what it is that they're trying to do. And it was just, it's hard to break away from something when you're the first person there and it takes off, and then you've got NFTs or the first NFTs and they take off, and now you're kind of okay, I'm hooked because I'm having so much fun. And that's just, I kind of been through the entire journey of Solana NFTs at this point.
So right now, I mean, you're a Solana NFT investor. You're constantly looking at the new collections, the new things that come out, and I mean, there's new drops every single week, or every day almost, I think. Depending on
There's
where
probably
you look.
about 20 NFTs a day projects get launched today now.
Goodness gracious! And we understand now that most of them, 90%, maybe even higher, are going to go to zero. They are going to be nothing. So how do you decide what is going to be successful? What's your criteria?
So usually the criteria is, are they doing something that nobody else has ever done? So right now, there's a project on Solana called the Boryoku Dragons. Their floor just hit 500 SOL yesterday. Because
Which, by the way, floor means that's the minimum price you have to pay to get one, to buy
The
in.
cheapest one that's listed on that marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the floor on these is about $60,000 now.
Oh my goodness!
And
So
are they currently the most expensive Solana NFT? or is that still shadowy
No,
supercoder?
no, they're definitely more expensive than shadowy supercoders,
Mm-hmm.
but the Boryoku dragons have a much smaller supply. They only have like 1,000 of them, I think. But there's a project that was there at the very beginning called the Boogles. They're like these pixelated, like ghost-looking guys. They actually kind of look like the Scream Murderer with this black hood and a white face kind of thing.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, their floor is like around 2,500 souls. So it's probably about $300,000 to get one at this point.
My goodness.
But there's only 100 of those, and
Oh, that makes more sense.
they auction 3 off a week, and I think like the last 4 are up this week. Like this is the final 4 that'll ever be. Anyways,
Wow.
so yeah, so the Boryoku dragons, like this is a great example because this is the nature of Solana NFTs. They were the first pixel project, but they were 16-bit pixels. It looked more like SNES than NES. And beyond that, they were the first what we call utility project, meaning if you actually have the NFT, you're going to get something for it. It's actually going to do something for you. So it was more than just a social club where you buy the NFT and you're granted access.
So more than a
Now-
Pokemon card, right?
Yes,
So it does
more than
something
a
else.
So now the dragons, they were the first one on Solana to actually pay you in their own currency called Boku. And that Boku was used to actually perform breeding. So if you had 2 dragons, you could pay Boku, it would burn the Boku, which reduces the supply of Boku and makes the price of Boku go up, and then you would get a baby dragon as a result. And then that baby dragon carried benefits with it. So they were the first one to do anything like having utility and doing a breeding mechanism. So what ended up happening after that was like 40 projects that did the exact same thing, all with 16-bit artwork, but instead of dragons, this time it was phoenixes or dogs or robots or whatever. Like they just all copy and paste. So, you know, and the idea was like, okay, if you got priced out of dragons really quick because they were the first one to do something revolutionary, here's your second chance. They try and give you this FOMO that is just a total lie, and those things all crash and burn. It's always the first mover advantage wins. Unless you do something like really exceptional and you copy the dragons but also do something new in addition to that. But for the most part, what happens with the fact that Solana is very, very easy to get started with now is that everybody's coming in and just like, oh, okay, well, that was really successful, so let's just copy it. And that's how really like my first criteria is, are you doing something new? And the answer to that usually is yes. So few of the time that I actually don't have a lot of work to do researching projects.
So that's good. That's actually excellent criteria, and I think I want to encourage everyone. Again, not financial advice, but financial guidance, maybe. Is that the same thing?
Same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Then let's just not say that. But
we are not financial professionals.
Yeah, we are not. We're just messing around with tech. That's all we're doing. Yeah. So when you see a project, trying to evaluate if it's good or not, is it doing something new? Is the utility cool? And I guess the other criteria is like, are you excited about it? Do you think it's going to work? That's the other thing. And it's not a guarantee, but usually it's definitely a higher. I can't think of the word I'm trying to find right now. Higher. I don't know. My
criteria or something. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll drink some more coffee and then I'll come back to you.
But I think but this goes back to the evolution of NFTs even more. Like that was one of the first evolutions. Was it broke away from just social clubs and just profile pictures to like actually rewarding holders for holding the NFT. And then people like Genesis Go came along and you're like, you know what? Let's create this storage protocol for Solana, but the way they're going to pay for that storage is with our shadow token. And what we'll do is we'll raise money by selling shadowy supercoder NFTs, but then reward the holders by giving them half the entire supply of shadow token. So now anyone who actually wants to use the Shadow RPC infrastructure, the servers themselves, they have to pay in the Shadow token, and guess who has the Shadow tokens? The NFT holders. That's utility, and there's significant value in that.
Now, how do you keep up on the news with all this? Like, how do you find these new projects?
I mean,
because I'll be honest, your Twitter account's my source of news, so I'm wondering where you get it.
Where's your source?
I mean, like at that point, I really don't know how to answer you. Like, I started this account in September, and I've already grown to 42,000 followers.
Wow.
And at this point, like, I've got enough weight in the ecosystem to where people bring stuff to me. And I'm part of a couple Discord channels where, they talk about alpha a lot. What is alpha? Alpha is just the inside scoop. It's just like in the know, the behind the scenes alpha. So I'm in a bunch of alpha groups where people are just sharing information. Like there are a lot of people who have quit their full-time job to do nothing but research projects. So I'm in groups with them and I'm like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And then they actually do the research and tell me. So that's really the best way that I just stay afloat. But I'll be honest with you, like I miss probably 50% of the stuff that's going on because of kids and family and work.
Oh yeah,
so,
this is a full-time thing to be immersed in this stuff. Like I'll be honest, like I started with my Network Chuck Twitter account, I started following all the NFT stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is too much. I need to unfollow and create my own separate NFT-based account because I cannot do this. Yeah. It's overwhelming.
No, me and Chuck probably spent probably a month just constantly tweeting or talking to each other about different projects. It was an obsession. We were obsessed with it for like a month, and then we were like, and then whenever you said Solana's only like a year and a half, like that's how old it's been only around for a year and a half. I was like, I felt like I spent 6 months in a month.
Oh yeah.
Just researching projects and figuring out what to do.
NFTs just started in August. There wasn't even a mint button in August back then. What we did is we sent money to a wallet and hoped we got NFTs back.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah.
The good faith situation.
Yeah, and that was the honest truth. That's how the Solana monkeys, which are a really, really popular project, they were the first profile picture project. But then Degen Apes came along, and their hype was so big that there was no way that they could handle an influx of thousands of transactions at once and send NFTs back. So they actually created the mint button, so to speak, on Solana.
Wow. Very cool.
And that's why there was a lot of drama around that. It was the first one to do it, and it failed. It was miserable. It took 3 days for them to fix it.
Yeah, I remember the Degen Trash Pandas had a big scandal where their minting got hacked, or kind of not like, well, I guess you could call it hacked. Someone took advantage of the code and got all the rarity.
Yep. So that mint button mechanism was actually called Candy Machine. It was the idea was you load your machine full of candy, somebody puts a coin in, they get a piece of candy out. So when Degen Apes launched, they actually had to bring in Solana, like the actual Solana team come in, and they created Candy Machine over the weekend for the Degen Apes. And that's what the entire the ecosystem has used that since. It's an open source piece of software.
That's
but
crazy.
there was a vulnerability in it, in that all of when you use hash lips to generate your images, they're literally numbered 0 through 9,999, and then it uploads them in that order to Arweave along with the metadata. So if somebody came along and knew how to read the code well enough, they could literally read the entire collection ahead of time because it's already on the blockchain. So that's what happened with Degen Trash Pandas, is somebody read the blockchain and found out, number 352 has all of the mythic attributes. So they created a program that just monitored the mint progress. And as 352 came up, it fired off the transaction to mint 352 and grab it real quick. So Degen Trash Pandas, very funny and very ironically, stopped the mint, brought the Solana team back in, rebuilt the entire Candy Machine app. So now it's Candy Machine version 2. And now that's back up, and that's what the ecosystem uses yet again.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of history about Solana NFTs.
So
and it's only 5 months old.
So wait, hold on. Solana NFTs are only 5 months old?
Yeah, the first mints were really starting in August.
That's insane.
That's really crazy.
Because there's two big marketplaces, Magic Eden and Solanart, and they seem like they've been there forever. This is insane.
But OpenSea is expected to add Solana any day now. I was told second week of February. So
what do you think that will do to Solana once it's on OpenSea?
I mean, it's kind of like if you have a product to sell and you get invited to sell it on Amazon. You go where the money is. You go where the volume is. Magic Eden, I think the last I saw was they have $5 million of volume, and OpenSea does $50 million of volume, and LooksRare does $500 million of volume.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, we're looking at multiples of 10 to 100x of volume. So as long as those Ethereum users who have made millions off their Bored Apes decide they want to put a little bit of money into Solana, if we bring our product to them, then I would imagine that would be a very bullish signal for Solana NFTs.
Yeah, so I want to talk more here in a bit about the future of Solana and why you're so bullish on it. But first, I want to talk about how do you start developing for Solana? Because like you've been doing it, you've been learning Rust, and now we're going to find out it's more JavaScript anyway, and producing courses on how to do it. So how did you? Because like I tried to look it up. I'm like, okay, how can I actually do this stuff? There's no documentation.
Nothing.
It is hard to find.
And if there is, it's really like
it's awful.
Really hard to read.
Yep. And most of the documentation that exists is already outdated. Like they have like completely, like whatever function they told you to call, that function doesn't work anymore. They deprecated that like 2 versions ago. Like that's, so when I did an interview with, so the guy who made Candy Machine, his name is Jordan Prince. On Twitter, he's under Redacted J. So I did an interview with Jay, and I asked him after the interview was over, I was like, look, I'm very serious about getting started with this. How do I get started? And he was like, as someone who works for Solana as a developer advocate, he almost basically said, don't. Like,
good luck.
He was like, you're going to have an extraordinary amount of grit, because what we like to say is we all chew glass. Like you're just, and what I found out was that he was exactly right. There are a few resources like startonsolana.com that will get you started, but again, and this is not to knock on them because I used them and they were very helpful, but it's only going to get you about 20% of the way there. What I had to do was like, okay, I have to come up with my own idea, my own thing that I want to do, and just start hacking away at code until I figure it out. And I use a couple Discords, like the Metaplex Discord. They basically standardized NFTs on Solana. They wrote the standards for all of it. So I jump in their Discord. There's a lot of developers hanging out there. The DGenapes Discord also has a group dedicated for builders, and we share a lot of info back and forth there. So there's just a lot of, I did something like this. Here's the code. Try and hack it out. So like I told you about this thing, we mentioned it a little bit where Boryoku Dragons, they reward holders and they pay them in tokens. So the way they actually do this now in NFTs is you actually take your NFT and lock it in the project's vault. And while it's locked in the vault, they emit coins to you. That mechanism is called staking. And there was like only one open source staking solution out there right now, and it's really, really, really complicated. So what I just finished, like right before I got on this call with you, was I simplified it more or less. I made a front-end website in React that interacts with all of those Solana programs, but it's very, very like to where now there's just a stake button, an unstake button, and a claim rewards button, just 3 buttons. And it shows you your NFTs, like the picture of each NFT is there. So that's like, these things don't exist, and the developer who created it is not accessible. So I literally just spent like the last 4 days, like just looking at his GitHub repo and just going through it one line at a time, drawing diagrams like, okay, this calls this, calls this, calls this, and this is what happens. Then I try something out. I look at the console on the website to see where it blew up, and then I troubleshoot. And like, this is just what I did for like the last like few days.
Wow.
And like, I wish I had something good to say, like, oh, it's so easy, or this is where you can say. It's not. Like, you just have to do stuff like that. So that's why I'm creating my course, developing apps on Solana.
That's going to be huge. What skill set do you need to have to like
just like basic JavaScript? For my course, all you need is basic JavaScript. So if you know like how data types are, if you know what a loop is, if you know what a conditional is, and it would be beneficial if you knew like what a class is or what a module is. A module is the same thing in Python as like pip install. JavaScript has modules. You just type npm install. So if you know what those are, then that's all you need to get started with the course.
Well,
cool.
Let me know when you're done with that course. I'm going to watch it.
Hopefully end of the month. It's about 66% done now. So we carry people from like, okay, welcome to Solana. Here's how you can get your soul balance using JavaScript. Just something really, really simple.
Very cool.
And we work our way up to creating an actual like program written in Rust. We create the front end in React that interacts with that program. We actually generate an NFT collection using Hashlips. We deploy the NFT collection using Candy Machine. And then we create the staking website and the staking farm. So you get emitted tokens for the NFTs that you created. So
that's huge.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah,
that sounds like a really fun course.
So I guess that begs the question: when are we going to see some Knox NFTs?
So probably never. So I'm very happy with just being a trainer and just being a talker and an interviewer in the space. I don't want to dive into because this extraordinary amounts of money on an unregulated asset, and it just scares me with being a dad with kids and a husband now. So I don't want to do anything where it's okay, well, now that you've got these NFTs, thanks for your $2 million, because that's about how much money these NFT projects are making. And it only takes 15 days to make an NFT project. That's the crazy part. You can hire an art, not that you should, but I hired for mine, when we generate an NFT project, I actually hired an artist from Fiverr to just do an NFT collection. He turned it around to me in 3 days at $125. So now I'm providing that artwork as part of follow along, and we'll generate a collection. But it just kind of goes to show you that you could make your own NFT collection and make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in 5 days work. And that's what people are doing. That's what the scam part of blockchain is. That's what's happening. They're just hiring artists off Fiverr, throwing art up there, minting out, and then moving on to the next one. And they're staying anonymous the entire time. That's why.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I would love to see you do one though, legit. I know the fear of managing your own NFT and making sure because you're the boss of the people's investments. But I don't know, you know enough about it. I think you could carry it and make it cool.
Can I write your own staking programs?
There also comes a level of comfort for where I am is do I need it? Do I need that kind of money? It is very tempting, but I just feel it's going to open, especially being doxxed or, not anonymous, people know where I am. So that is a big concern for most developers and most people in the blockchain space, especially in NFTs, stay anonymous. Because if you mint out a project and somebody invests their life savings in your project and then the floor goes to zero and they lose all their money, well, now they know where you are. Everybody knows Knox in Louisiana. There's probably only 2 of us. So I'm not. I don't want to open that door for anyone to come threaten me or harass me or anything like that. So I'm just gonna stay on my side of things and be happy with my 20% returns on my DeFi. But I mean, you also asked how bullish am I on Solana? And the things the most exciting things on Solana are the things that we haven't even talked about yet. And why I think Solana is about to change the entire world, flip it on its head and upside down.
Okay, so note to self: invest more in Solana.
Yeah, I mean, after you hear the things that they just did this week, you may think that. So they created a JavaScript module called Solana Pay, and this is the first idea was that if you have a website where you sell widgets. You could just add this module in there, and you can now sell your widgets, no matter what it is, Web 2, Web 3, doesn't matter. You could just sell it. You could just sell it in Solana, and it literally handles the transaction on the back end for you. Basically, you could turn Amazon into Web 3 in about 5 minutes because of Solana Pay.
Oh wow! Okay.
And
man.
but that's not the exciting part. The exciting part was they got it working on a Square, the actual Square payment. The point of sale product, Square, it looks like an iPad. They got it working on that. So a dude walks up and is you know what? I want to buy a Coke Zero. So he taps on the menu. He says, I'm going to buy a Coke Zero. It generates the QR code. He pays with his mobile Phantom wallet and then grabs his Coke Zero and walks away. It takes about 30
I actually did see that. I saw someone pay with their Phantom, with a new iOS Phantom app.
Oh.
Yep. Because it integrates now this point of sale. If you imagine going to CVS now, or Walmart or whatever, where all these point of sale items are, it just generates a QR code. You scan your QR code with your Phantom app and you're out the door. Wow. And I'm oh, now that's going to work internationally because Solana, I don't have to convert to Chinese yuan or Japanese yen or it's just Solana. Right. I can go to England right now and buy crumpets with my Phantom app. And it's like, oh, that's why this is going to be a huge deal, because now anyone can just get Solana loaded on their Phantom wallet and go out the door, and there's no authentication or anything. Like, it's just yours. I got my wallet and it's done.
That, I mean, I can see that being a huge part of the future, but I wonder, you know, like you hear the story about the guy who paid like $10 million for a pizza because Bitcoin was worth nothing back then. So, like, I wonder if that same fear is going to happen as people pay for products, both like from the vendor perspective, like, oh yeah, we're going to allow them to buy something in Solana, and then it dips to nothing, which could happen.
I love this question.
So, like,
and I already know the answer. They got it working with any SPL token, so you can pay in USDC if you want.
Easy enough. Okay,
wow.
that was my next question. Like, if we combine the USDC stableness with the Solana's cool new pay thing, okay, cool, we're good.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Just swap some of your sold USDC, which you can do in the Phantom app. So if you're like, oh, I need to pay for this widget real quick, I can just open my Phantom app, swap it to USDC, and then pay.
My goodness. Okay, so I can see a ton of vendors just going, okay, yeah, we only accept wrapped Solana USDC, and that gives us stability. Okay.
Yep. Huh. That's exactly it. I mean, it's amazing, and I just, that to me was big enough. But then you throw in play to earn video gaming, then you throw in Metaverse, and it's like, okay, so here's the not financial advice price prediction. We all see the value in Ethereum as kind of like the 18-wheeler, whereas Solana is more like a Ferrari. You need both. They both have to exist. Or another way to put it is one is Windows and the other one is Apple. Or maybe one is Android. Like, you have to have all three to exist.
Which one is Solana?
So Solana,
out of the Apple and Android thing.
So I would say, if I were to put it out, I'd say Ethereum is Windows, AVAX is Android, and Solana is Apple.
Amen.
That's how I would.
Oh yeah, so that's the other thing I want to get into too, if you don't mind, is there are things like AVAX which are offering the same speed and same kind of functionality as Solana. Where do those come into play?
So those are typically, they're called side chains or layer 2 chains. And they're built off the same standards as Ethereum, but they have a slightly different protocol under the hood for validating transactions. Instead of miners, again, they use stakers or servers. But they're still like ERC style tokens. So that way it makes moving like your NFTs or your tokens from Ethereum to AVAX or to Polygon or to really any of these side chains, it makes it very easy because it follows the same standard. So it's kind of tricky trying to figure out, okay, well, which one's going to win? And right now it looks like Solana is, even though like AVAX is very, very competitive. Luna is very, very competitive. I personally like AVAX and Luna about equally. I would put them at like my number 3 in my holdings. So I have no beef with them. But using Solana, like Solana is truly a consumer's blockchain. The user experience, like the flat fee, the extremely fast transaction speed, like that's just, the others are good. They're cheap. They're not as cheap and they're not as fast. So I think they're going to have like some business applications. I think they're going to be good for the finance industry, but you'll probably never see them on point of sale mechanisms the way you do with Solana Pay.
Man, that is so huge. I mean, I see your investment strategy, right? Like, you can't lose if you invest in all of them. But it's Solana seems like it's going to be the winner, and that's why I made my first crypto really currency video is on Solana, because it was easy, it made more sense, and I see the future of it. Although I have to admit, and I want to get your thoughts on this, with the recent dip and everything just kind of crashing, how do you maintain a healthy mindset? Because I know, you
bought at $17.
Because I know that you put a lot of money into all this stuff. If you don't mind me saying that, but like I know that you're heavily invested in crypto, if not like 100%. I don't know where you're at on that, but it's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's pretty close to 100% because I just don't see the point in holding cash when your cash equivalent gets significantly better yields. So I mean, that is a big part of it, is having a healthy cash equivalent. Don't go all, not financial advice, but don't go all in on NFTs. you know? Yeah. But NFTs are also a hedge against coin dips. So Solana token went from $250 to today at about $120. So less than half of what it was. But that makes Solana cheap. So what ends up happening is people buy more Solana and then they buy more NFTs. So by having a lot of NFTs, I caught this huge bull run in NFTs in the last month. So now I'm cashing out my NFTs to hold Sol. So now Sol's going to run over. I hit my mic. So now Sol's going to run over the next 2 or 3 months, and it just goes back and forth like that. But also making sure I cash out enough profits along the way into stable coins, which I park in DeFi, which I make 20% on.
So I want to talk about what DeFi apps you like the most. And by the way, I watched one of your DeFi videos about Tulip, which I think is, what is it called now? It's called
it's Tulip. It was
Tulip
called
now.
Soul Farm. Now it's called.
Yeah. So I jumped in there and did that. I threw a couple thousand in there just to play with it. I don't know what it's at now. It's probably not doing very well. However, where was I going with that? So if you don't mind me asking, and we can edit this out of the podcast, no big deal. But would you mind like talking about how much you because like you mentioned earlier, you're not going to make an NFT because you don't need that much money, which makes me think that you've invested enough into cryptocurrency to where it's doing pretty well for you. Would you mind sharing any figures on that?
What I'll actually say is, things at work changed quite a bit in the last year, and I don't really need to make that much money off of NFT projects. I'll put it that way. So I'm very comfortable with my 9-to-5 job, and I'm doing just fine on the investments in USDC and NFTs and things like that, to where the NFTs are more or less play money at this point. And I'm extraordinarily bullish on things like Genesis Go, things like Shadow, and things like Metaverse, and just Solana in general, to where I'm kind of just parked those assets, and we'll just see what they do over the next 6 to 12 months. I have a feeling, starting tomorrow with a certain announcement about a certain Metaverse-based NFT, that things will get very exciting very quickly.
So this
Thanks, Alpha
podcast,
Channels.
This podcast will be going live on Monday. So as of now, it's Thursday. So I guess you can go ahead and tell us right now what it's going to be.
Yeah, Thursday, February 10th.
So there's a project called Portals. They have hinted at what they're going to do already. They've effectively said what they're going to do already. I'm going to plead the fifth on whether or not I know what the details are. But there's a project called Portals. They were really the first major Metaverse project in Solana. So if you're not familiar with Metaverse, the idea is that when you can't get together with your friends physically in real life, maybe because of coronavirus or maybe because of country borders or things like that, you can fire up your web browser or hang on your Oculus, your Oculus Quest 2, and jump in the Metaverse and hang out there. The Degenapes have a fantastic Metaverse. If you still have your Trash Panda, I think you can access it. It's on their website. They just overhauled their website.
Yeah, we both have Trash Pandas.
Both have Trash Pandas.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if Trash Pandas can or not, but I think you can. But anyways, if you go to their website now, they call it the Outhouse. It is not an outhouse. It is a full-blown, amazing Metaverse-style experience. It is like it would be like akin to hanging out at a very upscale New York luxury club, I guess is the best way to put it. Wow. So you connect your wallet. It validates that you own an NFT for this particular collection, and then you're allowed access in. And it's like having, if you've got your mic, if you've got your camera, you can interact with everybody else that's hanging out in the club. So what's happening now is the Metaverse is evolving to where people are buying their tickets into this particular project's Metaverse, and then they get to build their own world, much like how Minecraft, you build your own world, except for it's built off of like advanced 3D renders and stuff like that. So Metaverse was Portals. Portals was the first one. And you know that Metaverse is big because Facebook just completely rebranded to Meta because they're going in big on the Metaverse. So Portals was the first one to do it in Solana. And because of all the reasons we've mentioned, we know that Solana is going to be very successful with consumers. So when consumers want to enter the Metaverse, there's a very good chance they're going to enter through Portals. At least that's my investment thesis. And they are going to announce tomorrow the venture capital firm that funded them. Now, again, I plead the fifth on if I know the details about that firm. But if it is who I suspect it to be, I think it's going to be a very big signal for where the metaverse is actually going to take place, on which blockchain and using which NFT. But I tweeted about it today that, like, I think metaverse on Solana in general, not just with this particular project, but with all the metaverse projects, I think this is going to spark a very significant bull run for metaverse NFTs, and that's why, like, I just loaded up on them today. I went in big.
Oh, okay, all right. So I gotta ask, what are they?
We can talk about it if you want to pause recording.
We won't include it. Yeah, we won't.
Okay.
All right, we are now recording again. We got the secret information that you can't have. Back to the regular programming. So
Enviro is a competitor to Portals, and, like, if you could close your eyes and, like, picture like a dude cave is the best way that I could put it, not to be, like, gender specific or anything, but like this, like a room with just an 100-inch like projector screen and TVs everywhere. That's where their starting point is, and you get to customize that. But they just announced today that, imagine on that 100-inch projector, they have embedded Netflix, ESPN, Hulu, all of these streaming apps. They announced their partnerships today, and they'll have those embedded. So now you can have a party where all of your friends come over to watch the game in the metaverse, because they're all scattered around the country or around the world. Mm-hmm. And now you can watch the game on your huge projector. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. Like, and you can do it with your Oculus on. So you're like, there. I don't know if you want to do that, but you can. And that's like, this is what's happening. And it's all happening on Solana and really not anywhere else, because Solana is the only one that could handle transactions happening that quickly or that affordably. Man.
Wow. Okay, no, I see it now. That's pretty cool. Now, the only beef I have with the metaverse right now is I totally get the full immersion, like putting the Oculus headsets on. But Oculus headsets, even though they're some of the best, they're heavy. Mm-hmm. You get that neck strain. Dude, when are they going to make a really, really good headset that makes you immersed and comfortable?
That's the part that I hope, like, this is the part that needs the most improvement in the metaverse, and that's why I was like, you know what, I'd rather just use my web browser and webcam for now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's cool that I can, like, be in the moment, but I don't think I will. So I think I just use my web browser to do everything. But yeah, I mean, there are people who prefer that method of diving in. The younger generation, kids these days.
Yeah, no, that's the other part of it is, like, I feel too old for the metaverse. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm older than you. You probably get it more than I do, but
I still feel a little too old for it.
Like, I missed the Minecraft boat. I never played Minecraft, so, like, the idea of building my virtual life somewhere is not appealing to me at all. Making money, I like that. But
so I'm actually going to agree with you. Like, I recognize that this is going to be absolutely massive, but probably for my kids and not so much for me.
Oh, yeah. Like, my kids spend half their time in Roblox building out their little virtual houses. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the version of Roblox/Minecraft on Solana is called Heavenland, by the way. It just launched like a week or two ago.
Jot that down. Heavenland.
Yep. So, like, that's probably my two biggest metaverse plays are in Portals, Heavenland, and something called Suites. Suites is specifically for gaming and sports. So
now, I'm curious, though. So, like, we have all these random companies coming out and creating these metaverses, but what happens when, like, let's say Roblox, who's got a ton of money, just decides to go, okay, you know what? We are a metaverse now. We have the audience, we have the customers. They just convert it. Are they going to beat out everyone?
Could, maybe not. It kind of just depends on how people adopt all this stuff. We really don't know. That's kind of the part about being early right now, is we just don't know what's going to happen. I would bet maybe a Roblox or a Minecraft would throw the capital to do it, but I would bet that a lot of major brands that aren't so much as metaverse developers or gaming developers, they'll just buy out the NFT collection. It could be much cheaper to buy out all portals, like all of them, than to just build something from scratch because it's already built.
That's true. I mean, you see all these big brands coming into NFTs now, like Nike and Adidas and
these are like multi-billion, billion dollar businesses, and we're talking the entire NFT collection right now is worth like maybe 20 million bucks. Let's just buy it. Like that's what I would do. I mean, it's cool for people like me who have 2 of these NFTs, and they're worth a few grand or whatever. If Nike wants to come in and buy my NFTs for like 100 grand, cool. I'm fine with that. And that's kind of the bet that you're playing with a lot of these things, is you're betting that institutions come in, and instead of building their own thing, they just invest in ones that are already built, and then they just build it out from there.
And you see that happen all the time in real business. Well, I don't want to call it a not real business, but like, they'll acquire a company for the tools they have instead of redeveloping. Like we see that with Cisco all the time. They're constantly acquiring other people. Meraki and their whole phone system architecture, they acquired that company, and I don't know who else, but a lot of them. Now,
all of them.
Yeah, pretty much all of them. Cisco's built on the backs of everyone else.
But it's smart, and that's why they're the billion-dollar business that they are. Yeah.
Now, I kind of want to pivot real quick to the future of jobs with this Web3 architecture. So, I mean, obviously, you're making a course to not only just teach people how to do NFTs, it's just a cool course, but to build skills that can open up more doors for employment. Do you think the Web3 is going to just change the landscape for development and everything we pretty much do?
It already is. There are a lot of developers out there, more on the Ethereum side than anything, who are just there's actually a mass exodus of Web 2 developers moving to Web 3 because there's just unbelievable amounts of money in it. Even in Solana, like you could be like a contract developer. This is very, very popular in the Solana ecosystem right now. There's really only like 50 or 60 good Solana developers out there right now, but we have hundreds of NFT projects launching all the time. Well, it's very easy to launch an NFT project very quickly. So what these Solana developers are doing is they're just like, hey, pay me 10% of the mint price or whatever you make in mint whenever you sell out, and I'll get your mint site up and running in a day. So they're making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands every couple days.
So right now you're training an army of people that can do this, and they're going to make a killing. That's
exactly it, because like there's just unbelievable amounts of money in it, and Web 2 developers know this, so they're all transitioning to Web 3. It's getting harder to hire Web 2 developers now. And there's honestly, when you think, I mean, the blockchain side of things is complicated and scary, but the website side of things, where you connect your wallet and everything, it's already like open, it's standardized. To where in React, you just like import Phantom Wallet, and that's it. So, and then it's like is wallet connected? Yes. Then get the wallet address, and that's it. Like it's not hard. So that's why all these Web 2 developers are like, oh, that's not hard. I'm going to go do that and make a lot more money. So that's what's happening. And what you find out with Solana is that it's very hard to get started on Solana because Solana does things so differently. So that's why I'm making my course.
Yeah, I think it's going to be successful, especially since you're one of the first people to come to market with something like that, and breaking it down. Like, and I know your type of teaching, so you're going to break it down, make it entertaining, make it easy. That's going to be cool. I want to check that out because I want to build my own thing with that. Have some fun.
And we're doing an entirely new. We have this entirely new like content creation platform now, where instead of like it's not just video based training, there is a video for every video, I guess, but there's also like if you could imagine one website, because you remember the concept of skills. If you imagine,
actually, I think I've seen this as you describe it, because I remember Keith is posting some of his he's posting some things on there now, like some like networking basics or something like that.
Yeah, he did Network Plus in it. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm using this exact same platform, so you'll be able to follow along with code samples or commands that I run, or have these additional resources, or I'll type something up to explain it in more detail, and then the accompanying video comes up. So it just flows a lot better now, and I think just everybody who's going to be new to Solana will have an easier time listening and learning on it because it's just a better platform. And look, I don't like change. Like, I think you know me well enough to know that like when this came up, I was like the one guy who's like, please don't change the way I do work.
Yeah, because you got your process down, man.
I got my process down.
I'm going to record 10 videos tomorrow morning and just going to click, and
and that's it. And then the owner sat down with me and he's like, I want you to do your next set of videos using just this tool. Don't use OBS, don't use Adobe, just use just this tool. And like I did it one time, I was like, oh, that's better. I'm going to do that from now on. Like, thanks for making me do that. So now I can just melt through the content much quicker.
That's exciting. I can't wait to check that out. Now, I think we've kind of exhausted our talking points here. And the cool thing about NFTs and Solana and everything else is that next week we'll have 20,000 more things to talk about. So we'll definitely have to have you back on. Now, real quick, Knox, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you and learn more about what you do in NFTs?
The easiest way to get at me is on Twitter, and that's at Knox_trades.
We'll have that on the screen here.
Yeah, and that's where I do the majority of my activity. I am on Discord, but I don't really use Discord very much. But if you want to try and reach me there, it's Knox Trades #2784 or #2784. I don't know what you want to call it, but
gotcha.
That's definitely the best two ways to get a hold of me.
Cool, good deal. And then I mean, you have an incredible library of training on CBT Nuggets, so we'll link that below as well. Yep. I'm pretty sure, like at this point, half of CBT is your training.
It is definitely a decent amount of content. I'll admit that this blockchain stuff has slowed me down quite a bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, because like before, you're basically teaching stuff that's so complementary to what you always teach. You're always learning something new when you teach something. But yeah, if you're teaching Juniper, it's just a cousin of Cisco. Blockchain is so different. So are you have you abandoned all of standard IT? Are you going all in with blockchain now?
I would like to focus more on blockchain and not just Solana, but like all the blockchains this year. I would love to do Ethereum. I'd love to do Near. I'd love to do Luna. I'd love to do AVAX. And once those are done, then I can say okay, well, I did my part. But also, like I said, I kind of mentioned it that we're kind of launching a new company to do this, and I think it'd be really fun to build out that catalog more too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because right now it's all the old
nothing.
format. Yeah.
It's just empty. It's all there's like a couple videos up there that the owner created, and then my stuff is just pending. But my Solana content will be done hopefully this month.
Is that site live? I know it's demoed right now, but is it can you subscribe to it now?
I think it is. Hang on. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, I'll DM you or something if it is. But I think
we'll include a link below.
It's going to be called Forked One University.
Forked One?
Forked, like we forked the code.
Okay.
One University.
Interesting. Now, yep. I thought there was something called Adept, which I saw when I checked Keith's link he posted on Twitter.
So that is the tool that we build on top of. It's you could think of CBT Nuggets uses Adept or Forked One University uses Adept.
Oh, so this is a university that's using the Adept platform.
Yeah, so anybody who wants to make training can use Adept. You can use Adept, which is cool. So we're building our companies on top of Adept now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Knox, dude, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your knowledge with us. It's a crazy world that, I mean, you're kind of, we are all early. You were extra early, and it's fun to hear from someone who's so entrenched in it and you are a leader in the community. I mean, I see everyone depends on you. You're on a couple of DAOs too, aren't you?
A few DAOs, yep. The Alpha DAOs and the community, like the DGen DAO. So I'm actually an elected student council member of the DGen DAO. So there's 15 of us who kind of lead that group. I just identified with the DGen Ape Academy and the DGen Trash. I identified with them better than any other group. They're all a little bit older. There's actually a channel for parents in there. Whereas most people in NFTs right now are in their early 20s.
Yeah.
So me being in my mid to late 30s, it was kind of I'd like to find a group that's more my speed. And the DGens are that. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know that there's a space for everyone. It sounds like if you're over 40, then you might be a little alone. But yeah, it sounds like it's like me. I'm 32 now, and I do struggle to totally get the things that are coming up and the stuff that's new. But so it's good to know there's a space for me. We'll let you go. Thanks again, guys. Make sure you go follow Knox at wherever he's at. Check out his training, his YouTube channels, a lot of stuff you can check out with Knox. He's always producing content at an insanely rapid pace. You're one of the fastest learners and creators I've ever encountered. So yeah, it'll be a treat for anyone who wants to learn something quickly.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Take care.